Hey guys, alright, today we are back with another Geo History video, this time World War One, short version, the short version, simplified. World War One, Archduke gets shot by Serb, Austria-Hungary Emperor not happy, puts an ultimatum towards Serbia. Serbian government's like, yo, this is unacceptable. Austrian government most likely knew that it was going to be unacceptable. And they sent it anyway. And then they were like, oh, you don't accept our ultimatum? All right, we're going to go to war. And then Russia's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, don't go to war. And then Germany's like, whoa, 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 Russia. No, no, no. Austria, here's a blank check. And then France is like, whoa, 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 Germany, don't chill. And then Germany's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's raise our army. Start mobilizing because they saw Russia mobilizing because Russia saw Austria-Hungary mobilizing for war. And then France saw Germany mobilizing for war, and so they started getting ready. And the Germany's like, fuck you, and declared war. Really oversimplified. There we go. World War One. Now let's go ahead and hear it from Geo History.
100 years ago ended a war whose intent...
Oh my god. Yeah, it has been 100 years. We're in the 20s now. God, it's so weird to think of that. Alright. Oh, let's see. I ended my first year of high school when World War One's beginning turned 100 years old, so 2014. And then I ended my first year of college on the 100. No, I was starting my second year of college when World War One ended 100 years later. Fun facts to know how young I am.
Intensity and scale the world had never before seen. A war that involved more than 60 million soldiers around the globe. In this video, we retrace the origins, events, and consequences of World War I.
Yo, these consequences of this war, we're gonna be feeling them for, honestly, probably at least another century, I'd say. So much geopolitical issues, like the Middle East has had a lot of issues in terms of religious acceptance for a long time now. And that's that's never going to go away, I don't think, because humans are stupid about religion. A lot of humans, I won't say most humans are chill with each other. You know, we've evolved, gotten better, but there's still a lot of humans that are not accepting. But World War One, I felt, exacerbated these issues, and I think the main problem with World War One, at least with the end of it, and how the Allies treated the Middle East, is that it brought a bunch of distrust. Like, there is no reason for, say, Iraq and the Saudi Arabians. Now, of course, Saudi Arabia has a bunch of issues, but like Iraq, Jordan, those places, there's no reason for them to trust, specifically the British and French, because they said, hey, we're gonna help you Arabs out, we're gonna help you out, we're gonna give you your land by defeating the Ottomans. Oh, what's that? We're not gonna give you your land, we're gonna take it for ourselves. We're Britain and France, fuck you. That oversimplified Treaty of Versailles a little bit. Or, no, that wouldn't have been the Treaty of Versailles where that was split. That was Picot Agreement? Was that the name? Anyways, I'm rambling. We're only 60 seconds in.
Go
back. Oh yes, we love setting up context.
To understand the origins of World War I, we start in 1871, at the end of the Franco-German War.
Yes! That's where I start. When I've taught, when I was a teaching assistant a couple of years ago, that's what I would do. I got to teach a unit on the unification of Germany, and then I talked about a little bit on the beginnings of World War One, and then I later did a lesson on World War Two, and pretty much 1871. Yeah, a good starting point
between the French Empire and the Confederation.
Good starting point for adding context for the tensions between specifically Germany and Britain, because obviously if you look at European history specifically, you're going to see it doesn't really make too much sense why Germany and Britain wouldn't get along, because, you know, mutual enemy there in Paris, France, you know, the French are hated by both, or historically were hated by both. But then, you know, Germany unifies and pisses off the British with a few things, and so, yeah, now you got the British and French allied.
Of North Germany allied with the German states of the south. After 6 months of fighting, France is defeated and the victors unite to form the German Empire. Alsace and Moselle are annexed to the new empire, frustrating the French side.
Right.
In the following years, Germany would greatly advance its industry and economy. The country also builds alliances, first with the Austro-Hungarian Empire and then...
Which is funny because in order to unify like this, they had to kick the Austrians' ass too.
and with Italy, which is frustrated by France colonizing Tunisia. The three form the Triplice or Triple Alliance. Growing in power and status, Germany begins colonizing African territories. For its part, France allies with the Russian Empire and signs a secret pact of non-aggression with Italy, thus avoiding a second front in case of war. The British...
Honestly, that Italy is what probably, I would say, is what screwed over Germany winning World War I, because the French and British were barely able to hold back the Germans in World War I. And so imagine if they had to worry about that southern front. Oh, they would be so screwed.
Empire fears the rise of the German army, more specifically of its navy.
Yep.
Britain comes out of isolation, moves closer to France, and then to Russia.
I mean, this is a short version. I mean, I would say, yeah, Britain started having more friendly relations with both Russia and France, but they were not securely in the Triple Entente yet. That wouldn't be really until war broke out, and specifically when Germany walked through Belgium and started doing some bad things in Belgium. That's really where I think that's what cemented British support for the Entente. But obviously, the British really wanted to maintain balance of power on the continent because they did not want to be usurped.
Together, they formed the Triple Entente. In the Balkans, the Austro-Hungarian Empire annexed Bosnia and Herzegovina, much to the displeasure of neighboring Serbia, which dreamed of one day uniting the South Slav people. This project appeals to Russia, which diplomatically allies itself with Serbia. On June 29, 1914, a young Serbian nationalist from Bosnia murders the heir to the throne of Austria and his wife in Sarajevo. Austria-Hungary accuses Serbia of having organized the attack.
To be fair, also though, like, let's be a little fair and critical of the Austrian decision. They decided to literally send their Prince of the Empire to a conquered city to celebrate the conquest of that area. Tell me, what kind of good idea? How is that a good idea? How? That would be like United States' vice president going to that'd be like the United States' vice president going to Hawaii after the United States annexed Hawaii. It was before Hawaii became a state. It was, you know, that post, you know, annexation kind of, where it was a U.S. territory, because a lot of the United States, I think it was capitalist business owners, did a lot of shady shit there and pretty much made a coup over the native government in Hawaii, and then told the USA, hey, get over here, take the land. That'd pretty much be kind of a similar situation, I'd say. That's the closest one I can think of off the top of my head.
And despite Russian threats, declares war the following month.
Or that would be like Empress Victoria sending her heir to India post the 1857 Sepoy Rebellion. I think that's a close comparison there.
In a few days, the conflict spreads between the countries of the Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance. Only Italy remains neutral for the moment.
Schlieffen Plan.
The German plan is to overcome the French army concentrated in the east by planning an attack from the north. To achieve this, Germany invades Luxembourg and Belgium in violation of their neutrality in the conflicts. The French, British and Belgian armies are forced to retreat. Fearing the capture of Paris, the French government moves to Bordeaux, but the German army turns away from the city to continue surrounding the French army. They are then attacked on the flanks by the army of Paris, which forces them to retreat further north.
Huh. I didn't know that they diverted their attention away from Paris. Someone who knows more about World War I than me. Tell me why they did. Is it known why the German plan shifted like that? I feel like, from what I knew, I always assumed that they were just trying to mimic exactly what they did in 1871 and just literally fucking just storm Paris and win the war that way.
Marking the failure of the Schlieffen Plan.
Race to the sea. Yep, here we go. Time
The
to
new
build them
German
trenches.
objective is to take over the strategic ports of Calais, Dunkirk and Boulogne to cut British supplies. The inferior Belgian army cannot resist the German advance. In the plain of Yser, the choice is then made to open lock gates to flood the polders.
Oh.
With the German army stopped in their tracks, the front line is etched out with the construction of 700 kilometers of trenches, stretching from the North Sea to Switzerland. With the war front lines stabilized in the west, Germany sent its troops to the east to fight against a Russian offensive, which puts pressure on Austria-Hungary. After some
And the Russian front
hesitation,
was
the
not
Ottoman Empire
a stagnant
decides to
front
support
like
Germany
that
in the
of
war.
West.
This creates several new fronts, one in the Caucasus, another in the Sinai against the
Hold on, I like this subtle detail. Yeah, because it had not really changed its name from Constantinople yet. It was not known as Istanbul yet. It would become known as Istanbul in, I believe, the 1920s. I don't know exactly what year. I don't know why 1927 is the year coming in my head. I don't know if that's the right year or not. But yeah, it was still, I wouldn't say, I don't think it was known as Constantinople. I think it was, or at least the Turkish pronunciation or something was Constantiniye, something like that. I just know it was not Istanbul until the 1920s.
British Protectorate in Egypt with the goal of controlling the Suez Canal, and finally a third front in the British Protectorate of Kuwait over the issue of oil resources. To weaken the Ottoman Empire, Britain supports an Arab rebellion by promising them independence in liberated lands. Finally,
we're gonna promise
Italy
it, but we're not
declares
gonna
war
actually give
on
it.
Austria-Hungary with the hope of gaining new territory. In Asia, Japan went to war against Germany and seized its colonies in the Pacific and China. In Africa, German colonies are stormed by French, British and Belgian forces. Many people from colonized territories are enlisted in European armies. France mobilizes nearly 800,000 people, a large proportion of whom are sent to Europe. The British Empire, for its part, enlists 2.7 million men from its dominions and colonies.
Yep.
More than half come from British India.
Yep, I was about to say, a large portion of that come from India.
In the Balkans, Bulgaria goes back to war alongside the Central Empires. The country has a great territorial appetite and wants to expand in all directions. Serbia is attacked on two fronts and is quickly invaded.
And we're only in 1916.
In the West, Germany continues with military innovations.
3 minutes left.
It becomes the first to organize aerial bombardments carried out by Zeppelin airships. London and Paris are regularly attacked. The Air Force is initially used for tracking and reconnaissance, but planes are quickly fitted out with machine guns, resulting in the first aerial battles. In another first, Germany launches submarine wars in British territorial waters, sinking ships it encounters. Finally, in the trenches, both sides use toxic gases that cause many casualties.
And Germany did it first, though. I think that's important to mention. Just briefly mention, you know. I think it was Germany.
Despite some attempts to find breakthroughs, the front lines of war remain fixed, at great human cost. In the trenches, soldiers who survive the fighting are forced to live in harsh conditions. Mud, vermin, rats, and the smell of decaying corpses put their nerves to the test.
Yeah.
In the spring, the French side begins mutinies that would be suppressed.
It was on. I think it was a close call though on those mutinies. Like I think it was extremely sticky situation for the French. I don't think those mutinies were like easily quelled or something.
Germany also tires of the stalemate. The country is now focused on war on the economic front and sends its submarines to the Atlantic to sink all kinds of ships, even commercial ones, heading to the United Kingdom.
Russian revolts and the U.S. entered. Yep.
Exhausted by war, Russia suffers more than 1.7 million military casualties. Morale is at its lowest point on the front lines and among the public. Then takes place a short revolution that brings down the regime of the Tsars. At the same time, the United States of America finds itself becoming a victim of the commercial blockade in the Atlantic. They decide to go to war alongside the Allies. In Russia, a second revolution allows the Bolsheviks to come to power, who immediately sign a ceasefire with the Central Empires. With the Russian front under control, Germany concentrates its troops on the west. The country succeeds in a breakthrough in the trenches and approaches Paris, which it bombards. But the German army moves too fast to the south. The French army counterattacks and disintegrates German defenses. In panic, German soldiers retreat to the north. From this moment, the Allies lead on all fronts. In Germany, mutinies and a revolutionary wave force the emperor to abdicate and allows the signing of the armistice, marking the end of the Great War that kills more than 18 million people.
Alright, let's get into these consequences here.
On June 28, 1919, a peace treaty is signed at Versailles. German representatives are not invited, and the country is forced to accept all demands of the victors. Germany and its allies are held solely responsible for war damages and must pay heavy compensation. Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman empires are dismantled, making way for new countries or colonies. Germany, meanwhile, finds itself humiliated and indebted. Its army is disbanded and colonies shared among the Allies. The country cedes roughly 15% of its territory to France, Belgium, Denmark, and Poland, which is recreated. The only consolation is Germany remains largely intact due to no fighting on its territory, and its industry is still standing. The humiliation imposed upon Germany already
the industry is still there, but heavily in debt.
Leaves it with a desire for revenge.
Yeah, revenge is key there. Yeah, that was World War I, the short version by Geo History. We will be getting I will eventually be getting around to World War I and World War II, the longer length versions in time. Just wanted to check out these short versions first. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.